Let's get the ball rolling to this exciting day ahead with the first keynote by none other than Mr. Rameet Arora, COO HT Digital. But I would like to give a small introduction about this great man. Rameet is a marketer with 2 decades of experience with agencies, media houses, and consumer marketing companies. So may I please have Ramit on stage, please? With a round of applause, audience.
Okay, this is the slide at which I was supposed to start. Not the one you just saw. And I'm just going to check if this clicker works. It does. Okay, so good morning, and thank you for having me here. Thanks, Bijoya, for inviting me. Thank you all for actually sitting patiently for the next few minutes in advance. I'm going to be talking about something which is normally lots of buzzwords and lots of jargon and lots of stuff we've heard about, we hear about every day, and that's future gazing. I just gave this keynote a little bit of a twist, and I said future gazing on a small screen. Now, you know, when I'm not a digital native, and I just heard the word digital devotee. I'm not sure if I'd qualify. I'm actually a digital immigrant. I fell in love with the digital world a few years ago, but most of my life was spent in the brick and mortar world. I was born on the wrong side of the 80s, which means I was born in the 70s, of course. And I didn't have my first email ID till I was working. I didn't even have a computer to work on till much later. It took me a long time to sort of get around to what people who were much younger than me were doing, which is being flawless on the internet. And every day is a chase for me. So in many ways, everything that I'm going to tell you is not digital devotee stuff. It's just my life. It's the way I see the world. And it's not the way I see the world 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. It's the way I see the world now. The future is now. So, you know, when I reflect on my life, I've done a few things in some 2 decades and a little more. I've run an advertising agency. I was a CMO for a long time. I launched a TV channel, worked on internet startup, did some e-commerce. Now I work for a news tech company, which is a content company with 100 engineers. And that's a rather strange combination. But when I look at this is actually the recipe for internet success. And sometimes I sit back and I ask myself, all of these worlds that I've been part of, if they all came together and if there was a point of intersection, would this be the magic potion? And the answer almost always is yes. The only problem is, as I keep looking for this point of intersection, I find not one big point, but lots of small points of intersection. And that's an everyday challenge. So advertising and advertisers sometimes find a point of intersection. Commerce and advertising seems to find a point of intersection. It's very rare that everything's coming together. And you know, I could just turn this around, but this simple chart tells you that at no point of time do I ever find any of these pieces actually having more than 2 points of intersection. That's disturbing, but it's also an opportunity, right? And if we just started plotting the dots together, it makes my current life much, much easier. And it'll make all our lives easier. So, because we are all in this room today, one of my first sort of predictions for the immediate future is that the ecosystem will converge. And we never talk about how the ecosystem will converge, but it'll have to. Let me give you a small example. And this chart tells you my challenge with this example. This is a small research I did 2 days ago. It was an accidental research. And it's something that has probably been in my life for a long time, but hasn't hit me on the head as hard as it did when I was preparing for today's presentation. So this is how the world should be. Everybody should be crisscrossing. That's how the world is my current summation. Everybody's running in the right direction, everybody's running together, not crisscrossing enough. All of us know, and it doesn't require much future gazing, that the next 200 million customers on the internet will come from languages, and will come from non-metros. We've heard it so many times, we've read it so many times. So I went to the top non-English sites on the internet. This is the most premium websites which are non-English on the internet. And I can't read those sites except Hindi. And I started exploring them, and here is some of the stuff that I found. This is Hindi sites, right? This is a function of many big Hindi sites. This is probably 50% reach of the Hindi universe right now. You know, it's very stark. I don't know if you see it on this slide, but I'm a customer who's chosen to go onto a Hindi site and read content in Hindi. At least that's what I was doing. The advertising seems to be right. I do travel Vistara. I'm probably in the market for a computer at some point of time. I watch movies, Airtel, possibly. But there's something missing because I'm on a Hindi site. The advertiser knows I'm on a Hindi site. The advertiser clearly knows who I am. His technology and networks who I am. I've chosen to read the content in Hindi, but the ads are all in English. And I don't get it because that's very baffling. Why would these ads be in English if I've chosen to read the content in Hindi? There's something even more baffling in this. There's a Hindi movie advertising in English on a Hindi site. Puzzling. So I said, maybe this is a problem with Hindi, and the Hindi ecosystem needs to evolve, and we have some sites in Hindi as well. So I went to Malayalam, Tamil, Gujarati. I went to every single language. Same result. The ads are all in English. Now, this is an interesting situation because the advertisers got it right, the advertising agencies got it right, technologies got it right, the context is right, possibly the commerce on this is right, but something's wrong. And this is what I mean by we're all running on this racetrack, we're all running in the same direction, but somehow our paths don't converge. And my prediction for the next 1 year is that the paths will converge, because if they don't, we're in a lot of trouble. And this is just a small illustration. I know I've taken the liberty to oversimplify the challenge, but since the entire ecosystem is sitting in this room, I thought it's a good example to illustrate how this ecosystem, these people sitting in the room, all of you and me, need to work together towards something. We need to converge. The question then is, what do you converge around? Because you can't just converge, right? You need to converge around something or somebody. You need to converge around a purpose. Now, many years ago, I was part of the launch of a channel called Colors, and we used to talk very aggressively about the convergence of media and how the internet will basically ensure that the screens will converge. It's a reality today. The screens are converging, except that they aren't converging on television. They're converging on the small screen, which is a mobile phone. So the call to action for convergence of this ecosystem over the next year, 2 years, 3 years is actually the mobile phone. And with that submission, I ask, what is the mobile phone then? What does the mobile phone mean to us? Or what has it come to mean? My theory is that the mobile phone is really our new identity. The truth is, most advertisers don't really know any of us. They only know our mobile phone. They identify us by our mobile phone. And we willy-nilly sort of merge our offline and online avatars via that mobile phone. When we do a Apple kiosk payment, when we do internet commerce, when we shop on Amazon, we're basically telling the world what our offline avatar is, who we are. And then when we do digital first online behavior, we're telling the world what our social avatar is, what our online avatar is. But what's linking it? The DNA of this piece is the mobile phone. Now, savvy advertisers will build on the mobile phone and build our profiles. They will build who we are. Someday they'll even know our name. They'll know how to contact us and so on and so forth. But the DNA, the piece where it all starts, is the mobile phone. And just going back to this example, the mobile phone, and therefore my behavior, should be telling the advertisers here and should be telling Google, because Google is also running some of these ads, everything about me. It's a unique opportunity to personalize. And I'm going to talk about personalization in a bit. But if my identity is available, then it should be easy to personalize, because the new holy grail is personalization. At the end of our search for big data and billions of GBs of data that all of us are collecting and storing in warehouses and sort of churning, finally, we're looking to address every single person. So it's not customer first now, it's each customer first. And this is a great example of how I came first, but came second. Now, you would argue that's needle in a haystack thinking. It's a good argument. And I love telling this story because it's not my story. I've read about it. It's my current favorite brand. And it's not Facebook or Google, it's Netflix. Because I'm watching a lot of Netflix these days. Curiosity made me go and figure out more about the company Netflix. And I started reading about it. And I was happily surprised, a little shocked, to find that not once, but through the course of Netflix's history, the founders of the company and the management have defined Netflix not as an entertainment company, but as a data company. There's a lovely anecdote, I'm hoping it's true, it's on the internet, that House of Cards, which is a show that I truly love, is a show that would never have got produced because the producers didn't have the money to make a POC or a concept to show video streaming platforms or TV channels. So everywhere they went with an idea. And people said, sorry, we can't put money behind the idea. And then they went to Netflix. And Netflix basically said, okay, this is your idea. They put it through some algorithm and said, our data says this will work. And we have House of Cards today, which is pretty much a cult show, and a show most of us have either heard of or seen. And then now when I go on to Netflix with the context of this information, simply because I'm a marketer and I'm curious, and I look at the levels of personalization on that home screen, I suddenly begin to realize why after every show ends, I end up, much to my wife's chagrin, clicking on another show and starting again. Somewhere, they've got me right. Just as Facebook has, just as Google has, just as YouTube has, just as all the platforms that we spend on our time have. The secret is personalization, and I'm going to do a small case on that, but in a little while. So just coming back to my premise of the mobile phone is the DNA or the center of our universe now, and it's where we all need to converge. And that our new identity is our phone. The phone that you have now is you. It is how the world recognizes you, or the world that is significant, or the world that you spend hours and hours and hours of and do your commerce on recognizes you. But there's more to this, right? Because while you've dealt with this avatar, there is also something else happening. The fact that we've started doing more and more on our mobile phones, piece of data, 90% of consumption of the internet in India is actually happening off the mobile phone. There is a generation of young Indians who have not grown up on the desktop. They may not even have grown up on smart TVs. They've grown up on the mobile phone. They've discovered internet on the mobile phone, and they're consuming on the mobile phone. So they watch TV on the mobile phone. They watch OTT platforms on the mobile phone. They read news on the mobile phone. Their social behavior is on the mobile phone. Their commerce is on the mobile phone. I grew up with the cinema screen as my first medium, and television is its second brother. Some of you may have grown up with the television as your first screen. Many of us had desktops as our first screen. but not this generation of young Indians. They grew up with mobile phones. What does that mean? What does media convergence actually mean? Where does it, where does it take us, and what does it lead to? Let me tell you a little case study, right? It's not a case study. I've just taken LiveMint as an example because it's a brand I work on and I can talk about. This used to be what we've always known a newspaper to be, a page, and many pages which are attached to each other. So a newspaper comes to your house, you read a page, you know where to find what, you turn the page, it's static, and you go to a page. When people shifted onto the internet, it was only natural that if people wanted to read news, then news would be given to them on the internet. And so the page became a page on the internet. And by the way, there's still lots of people who consume it like this and who are still graduating through this because they're moving from the newspaper to the internet economy. But a page doesn't work for the internet. The internet gives you rich media possibilities, the internet gives you audio video possibilities, the internet gives you the ability to not have to turn a page. The internet gives you the possibility of not even having to look for information because somebody already knows what you're looking for, potentially, hopefully. And so a page on the internet then became a page which was clickable and rich and, what have you, on the internet. But young people still don't want a page that's clickable. So what does that lead us to? It leads us to, first, a mobile-first page. A page that is designed for the mobile phone, not designed for the desktop. It then leads us to not a page, but a feed. Because a page is a static concept. The internet is not a static concept. It's a completely new way to experience news. And it leads us to a news feed and personalization. Because what I want to read is not what you want to read, and what you want to read is not what she wants to read. All of us want to read different things. And if somebody just figured out what I want to read because I read it every day, it would make life so much easier. I don't have to turn to page 8 anymore to do what I want to do. My home page on this news site simply reflects my behavior. My behavior changes, the website changes, right? So this is now not a page, this is not my page, it is my news experience. And it's a classic example of how first the internet and now the mobile phone has basically changed the way, as media converges, we will look at news. It's changed the way we look at OTT. It's changed the way we look at television. It's changed the way we look at retail. It's changed the way we shop. It's changed the way we'll do online banking. It's changed the way we'll ask questions of hospitals. And that experience has basically become critical to our lives. So the mobile phone has actually changed much more than just our behavior. It's actually changed our lives in many ways because it's brought the world into our hands. Right? And if we don't deliver this experience, somebody else will. So media convergence is a reality, and everybody sitting in this room is probably dealing with it all the time. And it's no secret. And by the way, this is not just content. Let's look at it from the marketer's point of view or the advertiser's point of view. You can even personalize your ads. Because if I'm reading about something, or if I'm talking about something, or if I'm bound to read about something, or if I'm likely to exhibit a certain amount of behavior, and read in a certain language, and be a certain kind of person, it's a no-brainer that the ads I see should reflect that. Because if they do, there is higher probability that I'll click through them, I'll engage with them, I'll do commerce. So personalization is a reality. It's not just a reality for news tech providers like us. It's a reality for marketers, it's a reality for advertisers, it's a reality for technology giants, it's a reality for everybody. It's even a reality for those who give access to internet to us. No surprises here. You do conventional design, you get some engagement. You do user-centric design on the internet, you get more engagement. And I can tell you that when you do personalized content, you get astronomically high engagement from the same person. The mobile phone has done many things to this world, and there's cause and effect to how the mobile phone has changed our lives. And we keep talking about languages, which is important, non-metro, which is important, deepening penetration, which is important. But I think the one conversation we rarely have, and I think over the next 3 years, this conversation is going to become a very big conversation, is what the mobile phone has actually done to bringing women onto the internet and to changing, the demographic of the internet. I'm not sure how many of you would have realized, because we don't often see data like that India is highly underleveraged when it comes to women on the internet. At least 6 to 8 percentage points below the world average, which basically means that's a bonus opportunity. What happens with the mobile phone is you are not dependent on the desktop in office anymore to either transact, do whatever else you want to do. You are empowered anytime, anywhere, and I truly believe that women are the champions who run our world because their lives are busier, they're working harder, they're balancing lives, and with nuclear families, migrant populations, it's becoming more and more acute. The mobile phone is giving you convenience. The mobile phone is giving you content that you truly need. Now there can be many questions around this, right? And these are again intersection questions. Is there enough content being created? Are enough people doing, design which is real, and so on and so forth. But the fact is that there are many categories even today which are increasingly being driven by women and not by men. Retail, commerce, entertainment, lifestyle, and of course categories that are unique to women. Or more unique to women than to men, like beauty, for example. Wellness is being driven by women. And if you actually get into these categories, you'll realize that the percentage of women on the internet accessing these categories is far higher than the percentage of men. Small data point, that represents the number of women on the internet in India. It's very stereotyped. I'm very sorry for the pink and the blue. And I'm going to take only 3 minutes more. I'm really sorry. But that represents the time that they spent. And we all know what that means, right? It means they're premium, and they're advertising friendly, and they're doing the commerce. I have 2 more things to say to you, and I will shut this down because I believe I'm out of time. One, that there is the right to not be loyal on the internet because there's just so much choice, and it's unfair to expect people to be loyal to brands like they were in the external world with all the entry barriers and the brand sort of entitlement that some legacy brands had. But it is my belief that brands will make a comeback. It will not be legacy brands by birthright. Legacy brands will have to fight as hard as non-legacy brands. But brands will make a comeback simply because trust will become a compelling theme on the internet. We're already seeing this in news, and we will see this across categories. And since I'm being shown time in hand, I will conclude. This is my future gazing over the next 1 or 2 or 3 years. Our ecosystem will converge around the mobile experience. There will be deeper penetration, we already know that. Media will converge, it's already converging, it's a reality. There will be new formats of consumption. There will be personalization. And finally, the time is ripe to start building brands and not just acquiring customers at the top of the funnel. Thank you so much. It was wonderful being here.